You're listening to the Personal Development Through Martial Arts podcast, the podcast where the world's highest personal development experts and martial arts masters come together to empower and inspire you to become your strongest self and live the life that you truly want. Join host Bogdan, Rosu, author, public speaker, and the founder of the first personal development through martial arts school in the world, in the podcast where you become the hero. There's a reason why students from all over the world and clients who own 8-figure businesses come to Lukas Resheske. Known as the Copywriter Millionaires Recommend, Lukas is able to take complex marketing problems and turn them into simple, elegant solutions practically overnight. This was a very exciting interview, and I'm happy to say that we dove into the aspects of martial arts training that really help your business. So if you're a martial artist, I would be very excited to listen to this interview because it's going to bring you a lot of powerful insights which will make your life a success. If you are a business owner listening in, you might find some gems or some reasons why you would want to integrate martial arts training in your life. So without further ado, let's welcome Lukas to the show. See, you know what? Great. I love martial arts. Here's how I can use it. Yeah. So basically what I noticed was that martial arts gives you huge value in terms of resilience that, okay, I feel like I'm going to drop, but I'm actually at half of my potential. But what martial arts doesn't teach you is what to do with that power once you have it. How do you communicate that power, right? How do you share that power with others? How do you get promoted? How do you improve your relationships? So that's what I felt that personal development had a huge contribution. So basically one complements the other, right? What personal development doesn't give you is specifically how to learn ideas with your body. You can talk about confidence all you want, but when you learn to do it, to express it with everything that you do, that's when you have it. That's when you own it. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So you're kind of incorporating that knowledge of what your body can do, like that body sense, into the more like head-based, logical, reading, mental stuff. So that's interesting. Okay, cool. I like that. That's a cool angle.
Awesome. So what I'd like to talk about, just like a bit about your background, how you started out, and just build from there.
Awesome. So do you want the short version or the long, windy version?
Well, let's begin with the start. Like when did you actually get into business? Like when did you know that you were interested in business?
Yeah. So I did not start out thinking I was going to be in business at all. My whole entire family was military. Come from a generations of military people. So my whole life, I thought I was going to be in the military for my whole life, if that makes sense.
Right.
I joined the in the US, we have the program that trains officers for the military branches. It's called the ROTC program. And that's usually in college and sometimes people go to the military academies and stuff. I got a scholarship into college to do that. So I signed my name on the line when I was 17 years old, went to go train in college for 4 years, got a degree at the same time. And then after that, I was obligated an 8-year service stint for being an officer in the Army. And about halfway through college, a couple big things happened. I met my future wife, and I realized that because of that, I didn't want to be gone for half of my life from her, deployed for however long that was going to be. Because what I wanted to do in the military originally was, and this sounds super campy when you hear about it, but I had a dream to be a Navy SEAL. And that dream modified into going into the special forces and yada yada. Like I say it's nerdy because it was a kid thinking this is the most badass thing that I can do.
Right.
Um,
Did you have
and
like
so
a lot of G.I. Joe toys when you were a kid?
I didn't know. I didn't have a lot of GI Joes or anything like that. I had the Army Men and the Legos, more like doing the tactics and jumping them around and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I was the kid outside running around with sticks and fake guns with my friends, and wherever we lived in Florida or Utah or in Wyoming, I was running around with paintball guns, and so it was that kind of upbringing.
Yeah.
Now I haven't talked about that in a while.
Millennials listening right now are like, "What? You went outside with fake guns? What? You didn't have like online gaming? No."
Well, I did do that. I did have online gaming because I remember GoldenEye on Nintendo 64, and I remember StarCraft on the original BattleNet. So I had that too. But I mean, you got to get out and run. But yeah, then in college, I realized that I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to go be deployed. I didn't want to potentially die and miss the rest of my life
So
with this amazing woman.
You suddenly had something to live for.
Exactly.
Beyond yourself.
Well, beyond myself and beyond just the immediate like decision that I had already kind of made for myself when I was 8 years old. It was just an entire opening of the world to me, because I'm like, shit, well, my entire worldview has just been shattered.
Yeah.
And luckily my mom and my dad separated when I was younger, but my dad has always been into the kind of like opportunity space, I'll call it. He was real estate, and then, he was working on social media stuff and internet marketing. And so
really,
I'd been exposed to that world through him. And when I had my little world shatter and I was like, shit, I don't know what to do, I dove into like just that, because to me, that's what business meant. That's the only experience I had with it. It was military or the stuff my dad had been dabbling in. And that's, I mean, don't want to like go for super long, but that's basically how I got my start. I got involved in the world. I got a job out of college working with one of the companies, and then decided to go full-time as a copywriter in like 2013.
Awesome. So in 2013, that was your decision to become a full-time copywriter. Yeah. And since then, you've helped out some very, very big names in the personal development industry. With their copy, you've helped them sell millions and millions of dollars. But I'm sure that didn't happen overnight, right?
No, not at all.
It wasn't like somebody came to you and said, look, here's $10 million, write my copy.
Yeah, that still hasn't happened. That'd be nice if someone pays a copywriter 10 mil. So nothing I've ever done has happened very quickly. I've had one of, and this is actually a really common thing when it comes to mastering a new thing, which as martial artists would definitely understand. The newbie has a spike of like skill. Like you go from knowing nothing to knowing like quite a lot compared to previously very quickly. And then it goes like that. And it just kind of sticks there for a little while, and then maybe pops a little bit and goes like that again. That's how I was with copywriting. So wasn't very good at all. Popped a little bit with my very first actual client. Yeah. Had some great results with him. Leveled off. Made a lot of mistakes. Worked with people. Got good results, but not like fantastic. And then it's just been kind of bumping up ever since.
Yeah, definitely. It's exactly the same process in martial arts, and you're 100% on point. And many people quit just because of those plateaus, and they feel like, I'm never going to improve.
Yep.
And then you just go and you go and you go, and somebody just drops like one piece of information, and it just changes everything.
Right. I think, and the reason people quit is because they don't realize that that's the whole part, that whole plateau is the process. That you can't get the bomb any faster or slower than when you're going to get it. It's just, you can't do it. And the only way to continue is to just keep staying with the plateau and practicing and working hard at that same level in order to pop. And I read one of my very favorite books about the process is Mastery. It's called Mastery, but it's written by George Leonard. It's not the Robert Greene book. It's a different master, because Robert Greene has his book on mastery. Right. Mastery by George Leonard is really good because it teaches that tiered approach to learning. And I think it's a much better way to look at something than the George Maxwell 10,000 hour, like way of looking at it. Because it just emphasizes the process.
You know what? And I'm so happy that we're talking about it, because for everybody listening in, you guys are, you probably don't realize how lucky you are in that you're tuning into this conversation, or how synchronistic this conversation could be in your life. Because what usually happens, and I went through that as well, I'm still going through it sometimes, right? Because you're in that plateau, you feel like you're not making any progress, and then you go on social media, you look at somebody who's super successful, and they're like, oh my God, I just made $10,000 in 1 hour, or something. And you're like, what?
Mm-hmm.
What are you talking about? Or you go and you watch this martial artist who, like, he punches somebody, they fly across the room, and you're like, what? How? Like, what? I'm never going to be able to do that. Well, but what most people don't realize is exactly what Lucas is sharing right now, is that they went through exactly the same process that you are going through right now, and that there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing. It's not that you're defective or something like that, right? It's just the way that it goes, right?
Yeah, big time. The comparison is real, especially nowadays. It's, we're constantly comparing ourselves every single day on multiple platforms. It's tough. And it's not tough for anyone. Like the best performers in the world have people they compare themselves to constantly, sometimes more so than the people who are just starting out. I can't even imagine what's going through the heads of, mixed martial arts fighters at the very top, and people who compete, like the top boxer, that sort of like fighting sport type thing. I can't even imagine.
Dude, I remember Ronda Rousey in an interview after she got beat the second time. She was crying. I think it was on Ellen. She was crying and she was saying, people won't care about me anymore.
Yeah. And that's like, imagine feeling that at her level, you know?
Yeah. Like having please.
The one of the best female fighters ever, obviously had a bronze medal Olympian, just absolute terror with her specific skill set. And she is still feeling the same things that everybody else feels when it comes to like plateaus and skill sets and all this kind of stuff. And then, at that level, you get to the point when you really, like, when you get up in skill in anything, you get to a point where you have to have, this is really fascinating because I'm glad I'm talking to a martial artist about this, because
I'm enjoying this conversation a lot.
You get to that level of skill where you have to literally turn to yourself and say, am I good enough? And do I have the ability to be good enough at this level? Like, the beginners don't have to worry about getting better. You're going to get better. The amateurs, the intermediates, all of, like, you can advance in skill forever. And so if you're not competing, you're pretty much golden as long as you don't quit.
Yeah.
But once you get to that highest level, I was listening to a podcast with Joe Rogan and his friend Brendan Schaub, and Brendan Schaub obviously used to fight. And I listened to the conversation that Joe had with Brendan about his fighting career.
Yeah, I know exactly the conversation that you're referring to. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Very difficult conversation to have, like, especially with one of your closest friends.
Absolutely.
It's like, please.
He handled it with such class. I want to hear your perspective on it too, as a practicing artist, but that type of conversation is so critical.
It's very difficult to have an opinion on it, to be honest, because from one side, in this personal development space, everybody says you can be anything you want, right? You can do anything, you can be anything, right? And when somebody, like one of your closest friends, comes to you and says, look, I feel like you're probably not going to be able to be successful in this specific career that you've chosen, right? And we all have that when we start. When I opened my martial arts school, all my friends told me, dude, this is not going to work.
Mm.
Romanians don't pay
Mm.
for martial arts. What are you
Mm.
talking about? Are you crazy? Right?
Mm.
And
Good. Yeah. Good point.
and your friends do that in the beginning, and it's very, very tough for you. Like, I can imagine it was very tough for Joe to have that conversation with Brendan. I feel it would be very, very tough for me personally to have one of my friends have a conversation with me and tell me, look, you're not really being,
Mm-hmm.
it's not really the right choice for you.
So I think, let me make a point.
Sure.
I think that there's a huge difference between your bud, your friend, and an expert counsel. It just so happened that Joe was both.
Was the expert? Yeah.
Well, he was,
Yeah.
he was able to get into Brendan's head as a friend and open up his mind. But Joe was truly, I mean, as far as people on the planet qualified to gauge a fighter's level of skill and their career progression, Joe is probably one of 10 in the world who can do that accurately.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
And so expert counsel is so important, especially at the high, like I just said, you could progress as anything, as a copywriter, as a business owner, as in your personal development, as a martial artist, you can progress forever. Yes. You can always get better and better and better and better and better. However, when you want to compete, or when you are trying to like be the best at the top of every human being, obviously there's no such thing. The rankings are always like that. But I mean, the flip side of it is that when you get to that level, you have to employ a sense of analysis to the issue.
Yes.
Versus, so I'm so glad you brought that up, because we can't, if there's voices in our head telling us to stop internally, there's external voices saying that whatever you're doing is stupid. Mm-hmm. If you have not been, so your internal voices are probably not the right voices. I am unless you are a hyper intuitive person who is very self-aware, I am not one of those people. So I know that when I'm getting down on myself about stuff, that is a trigger in my mind that happened because of an external or internal stimulus.
Yeah.
I can identify that at this point. Go ahead.
Please.
I was going to say it's a distinction that matters, because I don't want anybody to like use the whole like, oh, I'm going to be that good, so I won't start, as an excuse.
When you open the subject of expert counsel, I was thinking, but if you have a mentor telling you, look, I understand that this is what you want, right? But the way that you're approaching things is not necessarily the best or fastest way. Maybe you should be listening to that specific thing. So you're 100% when you're saying that Joe was actually very, very qualified to give him that type of advice. I've had areas in my life when I thought, you know what, I'm going to be doing this because I think this is going to be the best thing. For example, when I was working, I was trying to teach corporations, right? It just wasn't the right fit, right? It wasn't the right thing for me. And probably if I would have persisted in that sense, I would have probably had somebody like, look, you're miserable. Stop doing it.
Right. Yeah. There's a difference between eustress and distress. So eustress is obviously beneficial stress to the body, like exercise. Meditation is sometimes eustress. The whole Wim Hof method is basically based off of eustress.
Have you tried it?
I've done the breathing exercises a little bit, but I'm not. Yeah,
just to get the buzz.
My dad's deep. My dad loves the Iceman. Yeah, he lives in the Rocky Mountains, and was prone to like jumping in the icy snow flow rivers with nothing on, just to do it. He's deep. Yeah,
that's awesome, guys. Go ahead and check out the Wim Hof method.
It's very fascinating stuff. But distress is different, so what it sounds like with your corporate stuff, you weren't enjoying it.
I was trying to be somebody else.
yeah, you're trying to be something somebody told you to do, or, that kind of, yeah. So I think that being able to identify the difference between a beneficial discomfort and not beneficial discomfort is a really powerful skill to have. And it takes a little bit of introspection, but most of us know intuitively, at least at that level, what feels good versus what feels bad.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you still need to try it at least a few times and see if it's exactly what you're referring to, something that maybe it's uncomfortable in the beginning, but you're going to grow into it because you enjoy it, you love it. Just like I wasn't good at martial arts. Like when I started, I was horrible, right? Like in a few years, people, because I changed martial arts schools, and in my third school, the teacher said, "You're very talented. What are you talking about? I've been doing this for 6 years in different schools." Right? Yeah. So it was definitely something that I loved and I grew into. Awesome. You said you did a bit of martial arts as well, right?
I did. When I was younger, I was into it. Taekwondo. We did grappling there as well, and all of that. But I haven't been a practicer for about a decade now.
Dude, my first school, we were doing a lot of grappling as well. Before it was cool.
Yeah, exactly. Before it was cool. That was like, I think that was like 2005, 2006 kind of, is when I was doing that. But my wife actually is the true martial artist in the family.
Is she? What does she train?
She was a Krav Maga instructor. She was
like,
actually.
Why didn't you say so? We should have had her on the podcast.
Yeah, well, you can have her next. I don't know if she's a podcast person. She's kind of private.
I'm joking.
But
I just interviewed a couple who they're both copywriters as well, and they help people with funnels, and they both train boxing. They're married, they're business partners, and they box together.
Nice. Who is that?
Yeah, I'll send you the link when
you should.
Yeah,
I like to know the different copywriters, and having a copywriter couple is cool. I know of a few. It's being able to train together, I think, is pretty cool. My wife is so much better than me at it that it's I can't give her any sort of like good training. she has to train who's better, because she loves Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu now. I mean, she was a Krav Maga, like she was actually the youngest certified Krav Maga instructor in the United States when she got certified. Awesome. And she did that for a long time. And then she trained Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu when we were in Colorado.
Dude, Muay Thai is so nice.
Yeah.
Muay Thai is so nice.
And so, but she loves Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's her thing.
Yeah, definitely. And more people are falling in love with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm launching another podcast in January. We already have recorded a few episodes. And my partner, my co-host is Sifu Mark Phillips. I mean, he's like a very well-known martial arts teacher in the Wing Chun space, in martial arts world generally. And we had another Wing Chun Sifu, and Mark and this other Sifu, they both train Jiu-Jitsu. And they were like talking about it, and I'm like, guys, you're making me want to start training Jiu-Jitsu. And they're like, they got really fired up. Yeah, you should. And
one of us.
Yeah. What do you feel you got out of your martial arts training that you used in your business, in your life? What are some of the lessons that you feel were really, really valuable for you?
I think that's a great question. So my traditional martial arts training was helpful for the power of repetition, I guess. Yes. It primed me to know that I was going to get better iteratively, and just to keep doing the motions, keep going, accept the feedback, that sort of thing, which is really powerful for someone who's younger, I think that's what the traditional helped me with. But then I remember having kind of an epiphany moment when I did my first Krav Maga class, because, and this is interesting, it may just be an indicator of the instructors I had traditionally, but I had never punched something as hard as I possibly could until I did Krav Maga.
Interesting.
And I was always, it was always control, and it was always, you know, like the correct form and tradition. And I never actually hit something as hard as I could.
Are we
And
talking about Taekwondo?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
Taekwondo, very form based. Again, grappling. You're not trying to hurt the person. There's no competition.
Right.
You're just trying to like get advantage. And so I busted my knuckles open in my first class in Krav Maga, and was just this like raw beatdown of like something that I personally had never really experienced before. I'd always, all the sports I'd been in had been controlled. All the martial arts I'd been in had been like very specific, and that type of, I'd never seen myself do that type of thing before. And it was an epiphany moment in that space. So I think that between both of those, the ability to iterate and get better over time, and the ability to know what you're capable of in a given moment, those two things combined, really, really helpful for me personally.
Interesting.
Martial arts.
What did that mean to you personally when you punched something as hard as you could?
Did mean to me?
Yeah.
It was, you know, usually I'm in my head and I can describe things, but the epiphany was more of like a body thing.
Yes.
The best way I can describe it is that like I'd opened a sluice gate, or opened a little like door or something that had always been shut, that I didn't even know was there. So that's what it felt like. Like, oh crap, I can do this, or oh crap, this is something I haven't done before, and it feels interesting, it feels good, it feels bad, you know, like it hurts, but it's empowering. Like it was one of those type of feeling experiences, which, I mean, as a guy who kind of lives in their head and writes words, and, you know, I don't get a lot of those, but that was one of them.
Let me just say that you're definitely not the only person on this planet who mostly lives in their heads. And something that we say in our school is that the mind is the body, right? And what most people do, just like you were experiencing in your Taekwondo training, most people, instead of using their full resources, their full body, always hold back, right? Just to protect the other person, right? And we do that in conversations as well. And I'm sure you're well aware of it, because you're teaching it to other people. And to everybody listening in, you're holding back also in conversations because you're afraid not to hurt the other person.
Hey, sorry to interrupt the interview. I'll let you get back to it in a moment. Let me just ask you, do you want more financial freedom in your business so that you have time for the important things in your life? Would you like to level up your business and become a black belt in business success? Let me help you. I will personally take a look at your business and show you exactly how you can make it more profitable so that you enjoy more financial freedom and more time with your loved ones. Get in touch with me over social media. Links are in the description. Send me a message with the text Business Breakthrough, and we will schedule an appointment, and you will get a free coaching session where I teach you exactly how to make your business more profitable without putting in more hours. And this is going to be only for the first 5 people who get in touch with me this week. So check the description, get in touch with me on social media, send me a message with the text Business Breakthrough, and let me help you take your business to the next level.
Not to hurt your partner. And you get that also through, if you're training in that kind of environment, and you're sparring, and you're taking care of your partner a lot, you're going to be doing that in conversations and in business. You're going to always be holding back. However, if you learn and you allow yourself to punch something with your whole body, right? And we do this exercise in seminars, right? I have somebody come up, somebody from the audience, and I have them push me, right? And I say, look, focus in your head and push me, and notice how much power you're generating, right? And they do that. And then the second step is, instead of focusing in your head, go to your center, to your dantian, right below your belly button, right? And focus there. Like everybody listening in, just do that. It doesn't matter if you're walking or driving. Just go slowly from your head to your chest and focus right below your belly button in your dantian. You're going to notice this totally different state of calm where you're using your whole body, your whole, all of your resources. And I have people do that, and I have them push me with their focus right there in their center. The power is double, right? Because they're living in their body. They're using all of their resources. And yeah, when you said that, when you punched something as hard as you could, and you notice yourself being able to generate so much power, that it opened the door. It just made so much sense.
Yeah, and it was, and so it was also more than one punch. It was like a true ground and pound kind of like unleash thing. And I don't think a lot of people get an opportunity to do that outside of martial arts, and especially in modern life. There's not a, even when you're at the gym and lifting weights, which a lot more people do than martial arts, like you're always taught control the movement, all that kind of thing. So there's very few places still, and I might be parroting Joe Rogan when I say this, because I hear him talk about similar things, but it's like there's very few places where you can go and just push to the level of power and exhaustion that you could in a martial art like that.
Yes, definitely. And my students come to class and they're like, I went for weightlifting, but after weightlifting I feel tired. And I come here after training, I feel energized, right? And they go home and they're like, oh my God, let me do some stuff. Let me, do something productive. But what happens, like the way that you breathe also when you're lifting weights, you're not really releasing tension. You're building tension in your body, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you shouldn't be lifting weights and shouldn't be working out. Of course you should. You just need to be aware of that, right? So the way that you're breathing also, right? If I were to have a conversation and talk to you and breathe the way that I breathe when I'm lifting weights, you're going to feel so much tension in the conversation, right? It's not going to flow. However, when you breathe like, you're releasing, or when you're hitting something full power, and you're like, you're releasing all of that tension, all of that stress, right? So it's very, very cathartic. Is that the word?
Yeah, that's that's exactly the word.
Awesome, cool.
I agree.
So I'd love to get back a bit to this idea of advertisers making us compare like these big names, feeling that it's easy for them. When you're writing copy for these big names, right? Is it challenging for you to find a balance between, look, this is my shiny life, it's amazing, do my program, you're going to have the same life, and giving people like very pragmatic and realistic expectations that, look, this is going to be your progress. You're going to plateau for a while, then you're going to see more progress, and then you're going to plateau a bit more, but part of the journey. Like, which one actually works?
Great question. And I'll be honest, and people might call me cynical, but for me, it's more of a putting sugar in the medicine type approach. And this is where ethics comes into copywriting.
Yes.
Try to phrase it right. Basically, the product is what's going to create the outcome for that person, right? If and when they take and do the program, they're going to move through that process at whatever way the instructor has designed for them to move through that process. And if the instructor is good and the content is good, it will help them accomplish that outcome, right? Whatever that outcome is what people ultimately want.
Yes.
So you can't sell the process. You have to sell the outcome.
The benefit, exactly.
The benefit. And you have to answer any objection, true or false, that occurs in the prospect's mind to taking that step to get the outcome. Right? And that's true of persuading anyone to do anything. Like, drop the copywriting for a second and go to any persuasion, right? If you want to raise at work, the outcome for you is to get more money, right? But
Yes.
your prospect is your boss, and the outcome for them is to what? Increase the bottom line, increase productivity, look good on their quarterly report, look good on their yearly eval to their boss. Like, what's their outcome? Because if their outcome doesn't match your outcome, you're not going to get the raise. Right? Same voting, right? Convincing a human being to go out and vote and then vote for a specific person. What's the outcome? You, the politician, want the outcome of getting elected into this position.
Yes.
What does the voter want? What's their outcome, right? Do they have strong beliefs about a specific political topic? Do they have strong beliefs around their home? Does their outcome match your outcome? So for the business owner, it's very similar. The business owner, the outcome is to sell as much product as possible, right?
Yes.
To increase profits in their business. Sometimes I hear the, like, I just want to make impact and change lives kind of thing. And I'm like, sure. Like, if you
have
really
to make
want
a sale for that to happen.
Right. And so I always feel like, so there's people who say that because they were taught to say that. And that's the majority. Then there's the people who say that because they think they believe it. And then my follow-up is, well, if you want to make, impact, why not move to Calcutta and serve the poor?
Yes.
That's a great impact. You're not going to make any money, and then they're like, oh, well, and then it really comes out, they obviously, and it's okay to want things for yourself. It's okay to want to start a business and make money and live a certain lifestyle. That's okay. But you can't lie about that being your goal to yourself or to your audience.
Yeah.
And if you also want to do that while holding on to your values and ethics, which is what most people want to do, right? So you want to provide value. You want people to love what you give them and help them with, but you also want to have that lifestyle, then that is the truth. And you have to be okay with that. So when we're backing up into business, I think, and this is answering your question in a long roundabout way, because I had to make my point. You can't focus on that process. You have to focus on that outcome. In copy, you solely hammer the outcome in every way you can.
Yeah. I agree. And what I really, really loved about what you shared was the fact that when you're talking to your clients, you're not just giving them, look, go ahead and do this, and let's find out what the outcome of your audience is and how we can sell it to them and so on and so forth. You're actually helping your clients get a lot more clarity on what they actually want, right? It's not just about thinking that, oh yeah, I'm serving the world. It's also about being okay with the fact that you do want to have financial freedom and financial stability. That there's nothing wrong with that, right? And
right.
Is that the first step that you take your clients through when you work with them?
I'll be honest. I'm at a level now where I work with clients who have already made that jump. So they know they're running a business. They know they need to make profits. And so we're talking tactics and strategy for the most part. But there's been a couple where I've had to have that conversation. Like, look, your authenticity is not coming, it doesn't sound good.
Yes.
Whatever you're saying is not really true. You're changing it to think, you're modifying what you're telling me in order to make it sound a certain way. And I've had to have a couple of those conversations, even recently, where with good meaning coaches who really want to make an impact, but have been taught or told to do, certain things.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, yeah, I lost my train of thought. The point.
Yeah. What I would really love to ask you, did you want to follow up with something else?
No, I lost it. It's gone.
So what I really, really wanted to ask you, because we were discussing this idea that people go to social media and look at these big names who actually have their challenges as well, who compare themselves to others. And they talk about the outcome that you're going to have money, you're going to have freedom, right? And then you feel a bit weird. Oh my God, I don't have this, I don't have that. What would you say for everybody listening in that would be a more productive perspective in their journey towards becoming the best version of themselves, instead of comparing themselves and saying, oh man, I don't have the yacht yet. I'm not driving the Tesla yet, right? What would be a better thought to have in that moment when somebody's talking about that amazing outcome that will actually get you closer to the goal instead of making you feel bad about your progress?
So I'm a writer, and this is going to be biased towards people who write.
Yes.
But I think that when you have that initial reaction, like let's say you're looking at social media and you see something and you have a feeling, you have an emotion, and then you start having those thoughts, whatever it is, you're not going to cognitively catch the emotion and the feeling. That happens too fast. But you will start noticing thoughts, and those thoughts are going to feel familiar, right? As soon as you start to notice the familiar thoughts, can I curse on this podcast?
Go ahead.
Get a fucking notebook and start writing, and start stream of consciousness, brain vomiting exactly what's in your head onto the piece of paper. All the words as they come out. Don't self-edit. Don't change words. Don't get pissed at yourself for not being able to write. Just take the words in your head that happened as you had those feelings and start writing them down. And then when you're done, when it's all gone, like what you're gonna, I call it being spent, I guess, like all your energy's gone.
Yeah.
Go back and look and see what you wrote. In a logical, non-emotional state of mind, you're going to be able to notice a lot of fallacies, a lot of incorrect facts, a lot of assumptions, a lot of beliefs. You're going to just look at that piece of paper and go, who wrote that?
Yeah.
You know, or did I write that? And just having that awareness that the emotion triggers the feeling, triggers the thoughts, is going to change everything for you. This is an exercise that I do. And I think that once you make that realization that those thoughts are created from those feelings, you're able to identify them easier, and then start to replace them with either nothing. That's the place to start, is nothing. Like, oh, I'm having these thoughts, change, like move somewhere else. Like get up, walk around, stop having those thoughts. I used to have a little rubber band around my wrist where I would snap myself
when you were having these kinds of thoughts, right?
It was really bad too, like 3-4 years ago.
Some people need a whip.
Right? And it's not easy. It's not fast. You're going to keep having it. But every time you do that, it helps build a little bit more awareness and resiliency towards what you're doing mentally.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? This advice isn't applied only to writers. I mean, anybody should do this. If you don't have a notebook, if you don't have a journal where you're planning out your day, dude, like get one. Everybody listening in, get a notebook. Start writing stuff. Start writing your stuff down.
The other option, if you don't have a notebook handy, or you don't even like to write, or like a lot of people have a mental block against writing.
Yeah.
Record yourself, audio or visual
or video.
Most people have smartphones. Most people have computers with webcams. Just hit the button. And the point is to do it immediately. The point isn't to like sit and think and find a place to, go back. The thing is to catch it and then write it, like capturing your dreams after you wake up, that kind of thing. It has to be quick.
You know what? This actually reminds me of a few years back. I celebrated New Year's with some of my students, and I had a bit to drink, not too much, but celebrating with your students and drinking as well, it's maybe not the best idea. So when I came back home, I took a selfie of myself, right? And I saved it on my Evernote. Saved the photo, and I wrote down, "This is what you look like." Right? And this happened, I think, 3 years ago. Today, I'm not able to finish a glass of wine. Just because I got like this type of awareness of, oh my God, who is this person, right?
Yep.
And I'm very, very happy about that. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a glass of wine, right? I'm just, what I'm saying is that once you have that type of awareness, it's going to be much, much easier for you to navigate with it.
Yeah, like for you, it was right for you in
Yeah.
your circumstance to make that decision.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
Lucas, what is like one story that you can share with us that, like a moment in your life when you said, screw this copywriting shit. Let me just, let me get a job. Let me do something I want to quit, but you didn't. What made you keep going?
12 hours before every deadline. Just kidding. Not really kidding. So
yeah, the writers listening in, are like, yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
I think the biggest thing that hit me hard was I made a bad business decision to join up with a company rather than stay solo.
Mm-hmm.
And it was for the money, straight up. I was getting paid more than I ever had before.
Yeah.
With the promise of even more. And it was exciting. It was new. It was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so I abandoned all the existing, not abandoned, I phased out all the existing clients that I had. I dried up my pipeline and was working for this company, and it ended up being a terrible decision due to, the leadership of the company, the way it was organized, all this kind of stuff. And I ended up with nothing. The relationship with that entrepreneur ended up poorly with everyone who was in the company that he started. I mean, he's still being chased around for like 200 grand that he scammed from someone. And that's one person. They're for like 50. And so that was a bad call on my part. But what happened was that it dramatically affected me personally, and it affected my wife, and it affected my business, and it affected our life. And after that all fell apart was a very difficult period of my life and in our marriage and all of that. And it was because I went after the money. It was because I ignored warning signs. It was because I abandoned what I knew was working for me at the time in order to explore something brand new that I hadn't fully vetted. And so that was like the one time where I'm like, shit, okay, is this even something that I want to keep doing? Do I want to, like, this is, if I were ever going to go get a job working somewhere, this would be the moment. But we stuck through it. And I think we stuck through it for a lot of different small reasons, not one big reason.
Awesome. How do you feel that served you, that whole experience?
Oh man. So I learned a lot of micro lessons just about myself and how I handle problems and people, and how to identify like red flags in clients and situations that aren't beneficial, and how people react in given stressful scenarios. So lots of little micro lessons throughout. So most of the worst things that I've done in my life have also been great teaching lessons when you have the emotional maturity and distance from the situation to analyze it. But I think, for the most part, it was client selection. It was self-evaluation. It was resilience in rebuilding something. It was resourcefulness during the time when we didn't have anything after that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was.
You know what? I love the fact that you're talking about resilience so much, and I think it would be an awesome idea if you're open to it, of course, to do like an interview with my partner over at Martial Mindset. We talk a lot more about resilience over there because it's the key. You want to do something, but it's not going to happen overnight. So you need that kind of resilience. If you don't find something inside of you that pushes you forward, then you'll find that it's very, very good to have it, to find it externally, in the sense, if you have a family or your girlfriend or your boyfriend, your husband, who's depending on you to step up, that's a great motivator to hang on, right?
Yeah, I agree. I don't know that resilience I don't know that resilience is one or the other, internal or external.
Mm.
I think it's a combination of both.
Both. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, we talked about resilience all day long in the military,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of from when I came in as an officer in 2012 to when I got out last April, obviously the war in Iraq, war in Afghanistan, long, protracted, mentally difficult conflicts against an asymmetric enemy. So that requires resilience, and it also breeds a lot of PTSD and
Mm-hmm.
the issues that come with that if you don't have mental and physical resilience. And that's the word that we use to describe it.
You know what?
And
I'm actually very happy that you didn't go to the military and go to war, because we wouldn't have had this awesome conversation.
I'm glad I didn't
What was
die, but just for full clarity, I was still in the military until last April. I was in the National Guard, and we drill every month.
Oh,
So,
okay.
it wasn't full-time active duty. Those guys are full-time, and they do all that kind of stuff. But it was a big part of my life until last April.
Awesome.
April, I guess. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Lucas, what would be one question that you would like to ask our audience?
Oh man. Interesting. So how do they typically respond? Like in comments or okay.
Yeah.
So a question for your audience. I think the biggest question I have is what makes you listen to a podcast like this one, and when you're listening to it, what is the specific situation that you are applying it to in your life? So you're listening to it, and why, but what is the specific situation you're applying it to? Is it because you're an artist? Or you're a martial artist? Is it because you're a business owner, you're a coach, you're someone who wants to do those things? I'm curious to see, because there's so many podcasts that you can listen to. You're obviously choosing to listen to this one, and I'm just really curious to see what kinds of people you are, and what your life is all about. I'd be curious to know that.
Awesome. So aside for having the most charming host in the world, what is the reason why you're listening to this podcast, guys?
Yeah.
Let us hear it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Lucas, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to chat. It was really fun. And
So it's good.
Yeah. And,
we went in a lot of different directions that I haven't really thought about. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. Guys, go ahead and check out Lucas's website, and definitely get in touch with him if you want to learn copywriting, or if you need help with your specific business. Awesome. I'll see you guys next time. Yes.
Have a good one.
Hey, thank you so much for tuning into this episode. And if you're ready for more financial freedom, for more time to spend with your loved ones, or doing what you're really, really, really passionate about, send me a message over social media, connect with me, links are in the description, and I will give you a free business breakthrough session where I will show you exactly how you can make your business more profitable so that you live a happy and fulfilled life with your loved ones. I'll see you soon.